protecting Main Street from Wall Street. It's time for Money Unleashed with Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn.
You have to have a plan where you know if the market's going to go up, what happens next. And you also have to have a plan where if it doesn't go the way you think, you know what you're going to do.
It's time to put you back in control of your money.
I'm not trying to predict the weather, which is kind of what we're talking about, right? It's predicting the stock market. I'm trying to build a better boat.
This is Money Unleashed with Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn.
Welcome to Money Unleashed with Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn. We are powered by the Hoffman Financial Group, and each and every week we're bringing you new episodes. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Money Unleashed. Let's hop into a big one that I've been talking about a lot recently with my clients and people coming in and talk about their finances, and that's current administration and tariffs. That seems to be a very big buzzword right now, and obviously Wall Street and the economy is trying to digest what the new administration's doing involving tariffs. And let's talk about those for a second because they've been around for a very long time. But, incidentally, it's not a new thing. Donald Trump's been talking about tariffs for a very long time, hasn't he?
He has. I found a funny story. We looked up some details on this, and a lot of people may not know this, but a very long time ago, 36 years ago to be exact, DJT, Donald Trump, he bid on a piano that was featured in Casablanca. You remember that movie?
Yeah, I do.
Right?
Yeah.
That's one of the favorites, right?
Nice black and white movie, old school movie. Yeah.
That's right. So he was really excited about getting this piano. A Japanese businessman actually beat him to the punch. And so there's him on TV saying, I strongly believe in tariffs. America is getting ripped off. So I think you're right. I think there's an overreaction to this being a new thing. Not only has the president been talking about it well into the 80s, but we also live in a world where he enacted a lot of these tariffs in the early days, right? So he's a unique president in that he had the job before, and so we can go back and look at what he was doing back in the day, right? So kind of talk us through, some of what he was doing in the first term and how that should pertain to where we are now.
Just first and foremost, tariffs have been around for a very long time. It's originally how our country started, making money. Back in the day, like founding of the country, it was imports and exports. It's how countries used to make money. And income tax hasn't been around forever. So that was implemented in the early 1900s, and everyone started getting taxed on that as well, too. So just first and foremost, tariffs are not going to solve all the problems, right? Because, $80 billion in tariffs is not going to, make a dent in, a multi-trillion-dollar deficit or your debt that we have. Just for everybody out there, it's my opinion, it's political rhetoric to take away the income tax. That wouldn't work. It's like cutting off the flow or inflow to our country. But I am all about making sure that, wasteful spending and making sure we are getting for our imports and exports, we're getting what we should get for that. But, talking about tariffs, it's kind of a sticky situation, right? You could even argue we're in a kind of a trade war with these tariffs right now, and we're putting them on, we're taking them off. To me, it's a bargaining tool, right? And it's basically like you're sitting down at a negotiation table, there's a loaded gun, there's a tariff bullet in there.
Yeah.
We're not picking the gun up. We're looking at the gun and saying, hey, we might have to use this gun, but just recently with Mexico and Canada, we're using it to get things done that we want to have done. Like Mexico wasn't doing a whole lot about the southern border, well, basically because the cartels are paying the Mexican government for all the money that they're making by, smuggling people into our country. But because of the tariff gun with the tariff bullet in it, now all of a sudden 10,000 troops are going there and they're going to start helping out with part of the problem. So I think it's going to be a negotiation tool more than anything else, but our economy and our stock market, they're grappling with what's going on right now because the policy just isn't written in stone just yet of how this is going to operate. Now, is more money coming in the country good for us? Yes. Now, how does that relate to your portfolio and what does that mean? So could there be an inflationary bounce back? That's a possibility due to tariffs. But what I would argue with everybody is like, when you rip a Band-Aid off of something, it hurts for about a couple seconds and then it goes away and it heals and gets better. So I think overall tariffs are going to be good for our country defensively, but also monetarily with the fiscal and monetary policy that we're dealing with as well. And I don't necessarily think that it's going to create massive amounts of inflation, but I don't think the inflation problem is going to be solved, anytime soon. We got the Fed talking about pausing on lowering interest rates, and we know that has to happen over time because then deflation comes into play, and that's not good for people's money either. It's probably the only one thing that's worse than inflation is deflation. But overall, these tariffs are designed to help our country overall. Now, whether you like it or not, and here's the thing: with China, it doesn't really affect them as much because their GDP is about 5%, and ours is 8% of exports, but Mexico and Canada, on the other hand, are above 20.
Right, it's a big deal.
Yeah, so tariffs on them are a big deal, and it's the way we get to kind of leverage our neighbors to the north and south with the trade.
And I wanted to kind of say this because I think sometimes with our show, and with really anything in economics or in finance, we can get deep down into these discussions, and I try to put myself in the place of somebody riding in their car listening to us talk right now, and they're like, wow, that sounds like a lot, right? And then the bubble pops in the head of, well, what do I do with that? 6 months ago, we're talking about inflation. 2 years ago, we're talking about recession. Now we're talking about tariffs. There's always something out there that has everybody's attention. It's in the news, and it's a bit fearful. So I would say, if you're hearing us today and you're wondering, what do I do? I would say you've got to take action. You've got to implement some type of logical action into these emotional concepts. And so one of the things that we offer to clients is a portfolio x-ray. So we don't know if it's the tariffs. We don't know if it's the president. We don't know if it's the other team. We don't know if it's inflation. We don't know if it's recession. There will be a day that there's a storm. Now, the good news is, even in bad decades, 70% of the market is going to be green.
Right.
So most likely things are going to smooth out, move on, and we're going to be in a good place. But if you're someone who's hearing us talk about any topic really, and you're saying, hey, I'm nervous, I'm uncomfortable, and I really believe that those things are going to send us into a position. I literally had someone yesterday, I was working with a lawyer, and she just turned and looked at me and said, hey, are they going to send us into a recession? And I said, ma'am, there's no way to know, but there are things that you can do. So if you're someone listening to us, if you're someone who is worried, if you are uncomfortable, if you don't understand what would happen in your portfolio if these things were to turn negative, then Eric's got some ideas here on the ways in which you could give some clarity and logic to that.
Yeah, if only there was a way to take that worry and concern away. I wonder what that, maybe a plan. Because here's the thing. Me being ex-military, I can tell you right now, the 5 Ps, proper planning prevents poor performance. You're always going to be able to find something negative or something to latch onto, which is going to make you fearful. If you have a plan, and I'm an old option guard for football purposes because there's a big game coming up, and we can talk about that a little bit later, but as a guard that played in an option football team, nothing feels better walking up to the line knowing you got a play call, but it's really 3. And you need to kind of do the same thing with your portfolio and anything in life virtually, like if you want to get your kids to school on time and you know that this route's going to take you longer, we're going to take a different route. You might drive a little farther, but it's going to take you less time to get there. And so in respects to your portfolio, you need to put together a proper plan for where you are in life. And guess what? Not everyone has the same one. And we help people with this every single day. It starts with a portfolio x-ray where we analyze your current portfolio, current positions. We do a Morningstar report and a quantitative analysis. We explain it to you in English, what we see, but then constructing a plan based upon how you want to go forward, whether that be a better growth plan that you're currently in, or do we need to start converting to an income plan, or is there a Roth conversion discussion you need to have because you don't want to leave too much IRA money to your legacy and things like that. So we help you out with that every single day. And if you need one of these or if this sounds like you, please give us a call. We are happy to help. 404-640-5511. That's 404-640-5511. Or you can find us online on unleashyourmoney.com. Now, when we do these portfolio x-rays, Kyle, talk to me a little bit about what goes into this meeting.
Yeah, I think one of the fears is that it's going to be complicated. So one of the things that we've made very clear over the years of doing this is it's going to be simple. You're going to have a cup of coffee, and you're going to go through some very basic concepts. Our advisor is not going to put pressure on you. You don't have to sign up in the first deal. We're offering to help you. It's almost like you get to have a free financial advisor for a day. So Step 1, you will connect with one of our media representatives. So we've got a team of individuals. It's not some robots. You've got some individuals that'll help you out here. They'll make sure you go to the right office. We have offices all over the city. We've got Conyers, we've got Fayetteville, we've got Sandy Springs, we've got Alpharetta, we've got Duluth, we've got Kennesaw, we've got Cumberland.
So we make it easy for you to get
Make it super easy. There's somebody within a few miles of you. You would sit down with them, but you would submit in some current statements that you wanted us to do that portfolio x-ray on. We would take those statements. We would load them in 2 different categories. One is a Morningstar review. The second one is known as a quantitative analysis or quantity report. Those 2 reports are going to go through some very specific things. They're going to talk to you about what the fees are. I literally had someone in my office the other day, and they said, well, I only pay 1%. I've got $2 million. That's $20,000. I said, well, hold on. What about all the mutual fund fees?
Yeah, what about exclusion ratios?
Yeah, what about the extra fees? They're like, I didn't know there were extra fees. So we're going to be able to give you clarity on what fees you're paying. We're going to be able to go through performance. So if the market has been doing well, did you keep up? And on the flip side, if the market has been struggling, how have you done?
Yeah, and you know what? What's really nice about this is there's no cost or obligation for the people who do give us their time to help them with their money. At the very least, what you're walking away with is a knowledge of where you're at. When you're planning for a portfolio or anything in life, really, it's kind of like reading a map. if you're in Georgia and you get a map of Iowa, that doesn't mean a whole lot. But if you're in Georgia and you know where you are on the map, then and only then can you figure out where you need to get to. And if you wish to come back for a second meeting, we created a la carte plan based upon what you and your family need, which is fantastic. And if you'd like to hear that, we're happy to help you out with that too. But step number one, it's super important to understand exactly what you're invested in. I think one of the biggest problems that I see retail investors have when they walk in here is for instance, I had a gentleman yesterday. He came in and he had about $2 million, but it was in 3 target date funds. He had zero idea that he had 30% in non-U.S. equities. He had zero idea that his bond funds had a 6% non-U.S. bond holding or even an unclassified bond holding. He's like, I had no idea. I'm like, well, of course you don't have any idea, because tell me if this sounds familiar, everybody out in Radio Land. You get your prospectus and you have no idea what's in your portfolio. So step one is figuring out what's inside your portfolio, and then and only then can you figure out where you need to do to tweak the engine of your portfolio to make it better. And we're happy to help you do this. If you need one of these, please give us a call, 404-640-5511. That's 404-640-5511. Or you can find us online at unleashyourmoney.com.
Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn are investment advisor representatives of Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor and affiliate of Brookstone Capital Management, LLC. BWA and Hoffman Financial Group are affiliated under common ownership. Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interest of our clients and to make full disclosures of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV2A, page 4, for additional information. The Hoffman Financial Group and WSB are not affiliated. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. This information should not be considered tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a professional specializing in the field of tax, legal, accounting, or investments regarding the applicability of this information for their situation. Any client experiences discussed during the show are unique to that client. They are not meant to imply or suggest you will experience the same results. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments will fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone. Index or fixed annuities are not designed for short-term investments and may be subject to caps, restrictions, fees, and surrender charges as described in the annuity contract. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV2A Item 4, for additional information. Hoffman Financial Group is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Insurance licensed in Georgia, number 163546.